Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell from the Spark File here to let you know that the doors are open for the Spark File Illume, a 9-month group creativity coaching mastermind that invites you to be the Chief Creative Officer and Chief Marketing Officer of your creativity. But what does that mean? That means in 9 months in Illume, you will clarify and advance your big creative goals and learn how to effectively share your work with the world. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an experienced creative or an accomplished professional who seeks a space where it is safe to attempt something you've never tried before, or complete a big creative project, or take your work to the next level and acquire the skills needed to share your creative work with the world, Illume might be right for you. We are calling in emotionally intelligent, high-functioning creatives who are ready to level up. You can find out more by going to thesparkfile.com/Illume, but do it now to find out if Illume is right for you and to save with early bird discounts. That's thesparkfile.com/Illume. Take a leap, take a risk. Go to thesparkfile.com/Illume and join us for Illume.
The Sparkfile podcast may contain profanity and other adult content.
Please use your discretion.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Welcome to the Spark File, where we believe that everyone is creative, but smart creative people don't do it alone.
I'm Laura Camion.
And I'm Susan Blackwell. If you're joining us for the first time, you are so very welcome, but you may be asking yourself, what exactly is a Spark File? Where do I get a Spark File? What do I file in my Spark File? These are such good questions, and we have got answers.
We do. A Spark File is the place where you consistently collect all your inspirations and fascinations. And if you're like us and you're making stuff all the time, sometimes the wellspring of inspiration can run a little dry. We're here to refill it.
We are, and we are on the lookout for fresh ideas, images, and inspiration that spark our creativity and pique our curiosity. Things that inspire us to get up off of our asses and make things like this podcast.
Or a dynamic resource for understanding the varied roles on stage and off stage that work together to create and maintain a Broadway show.
That's a hell of a sentence. Mm-hmm. Or a career in the arts spanning some of the most notable nonprofit and commercial theater organizations, fostering, developing, and championing new work by emerging artists.
That's a hell of a sentence, too. On today's Makersode, we're going to talk to someone who truly sparks us.
And that someone is the new executive director of the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center, Tiffani Gavin. Tiffani, welcome to the Spark File.
Thank you. Yay! I'm so glad
Insert
to
sound
be
effects.
Here.
We're so happy to have you. We're
so,
just thrilled.
So thrilled that you're joining us today. Oh, you know what? We're going to start, I think, by asking you, where are you right now and how are you right now for reals?
I am at my kitchen table in New York City, in Long Island City.
It.
And I'm doing well. I mean, it's been really strange to be in my 725 square foot apartment pretty much exclusively since March.
How's your pandemic going?
Yeah.
Are you sequestered by yourself? Is there anybody else in the space with you? Any pets?
It's just me, and my dog passed away a couple years ago, and I consider getting a COVID pet, as many people have done.
Mm-hmm.
But being a theater person, I had to keep in mind that if I was home all day with a new dog, when I finally started going to work like theater people do, this poor dog would be so confused.
Yes.
so confused. I read a thing on Twitter where they were saying, if you have been living the COVID life where you've been at home, maybe you're working remotely, maybe you're not working right now, and your pet is really getting into this, you need to start spending like an hour a day away from your pet so that you don't blow their little pet mind when you return to post-COVID life.
Just get used to not seeing me.
Yeah. But you've been keeping super busy in your 725 square foot apartment.
You've not been idle.
I have. I was reading an article about the fact that quarantine was made for Gen Xers, that we are surviving it like no one else.
Wait, I think I read this. It's like, because we're the latchkey kids.
Exactly.
Go home, don't answer the phone, don't answer the door. If someone calls, say she's not available right now. Like there were some little jokes.
Exactly.
And take the
you
chicken
can make
out
a
of the
snack.
freezer.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I need to read this article because it might explain why I'm like, there have been challenges during the pandemic, but by and large, I'm like, I've said this before on the podcast, but this little introvert is just like, hey, I'm into this.
Yeah.
I'm into this like quiet life. Latchkey life.
The latchkey life.
Exactly.
I should say, fun fact, just up front, Tiffani and I knew each other like 20 years ago, I think. 20 years ago, when we were both little itty bitty kids working at Blue Man Group at the same time.
So young.
I actually cannot believe that our paths haven't crossed again in 20 years. Like, given how small circles are, it kind of amazes me.
It amazes me too. But then New York is a strangely big, small town. I mean, you think you'd run into people all the time, and then you get out of a circle and we've been in proximity because I've gone to shows at ART and knowing like you were probably there, and we just, didn't see each other. We just missed each other. Yeah.
Ships passing in the night.
That's right.
And Tiffani, I think you and I first met way back when, because my first husband, that's right, kids, my first of six, was a Blue Man. And I think that's how I first met you.
I think that's true.
It was either in New York or in Boston.
Yeah.
And look at us now.
On the Spark File.
Here we are.
Our 20-year reunion. I love it.
That's right. We'll see you again in another 20. So we always begin with the Spark File price of admission. So real quick, Tiffani, can you tell, I have such a big, stupid smile on my face right now. Tiffani, can you tell us a creative risk that you have recently taken?
Well, I think taking a job out of state during a pandemic might qualify.
And not just any job, but
just
like a
any
really
job.
big job.
Right. Running a theater center with a hugely diverse group of things happening. I mean, it's not just shows being produced. It's not just classes being taught. It's a little bit of everything. And not having seen the institution really up and running and functioning the way it normally would ever makes it really challenging to figure out, so what do we do next? How does this work? What does the summer look like? How do the conferences roll out? How long is the semester?
Yeah, I bet every question is like, how would you normally do it? Okay. And then how are you doing it now? And then
Yeah. So for folks who are just tuning in, Tiffani was recently announced as the new executive director of the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center in Waterford, Connecticut, which is, friends, it's a really big deal.
It's a really big job.
Like,
if you don't know, it's totally a big deal.
It's just like, it's a huge, I don't mean to freak you out, Tiffani.
Tiffani can hear
but it's a huge responsibility. Like and to step into it during this time. But we're going to crack into all of this. Tiffani, you are officially admitted into the Spark File. That is an amazing, significant creative risk.
Thank you.
So for people who don't know you, how do you identify creatively when people ask you, hey, what do you do? How do you answer them?
Generally, I used to respond as I'm a theater executive or a producer.
Oh, fancy.
Theater executive always seemed to cover everything because I did so many things over the course of my career.
Yeah.
So someone said to me once, "You have the strangest resume." And I thought,
really? Tell me why they said that.
Well, I started out, my resume has evolved the actual physical resume has evolved over time. So what has been on and what's dropped off has changed. But I started out as a casting intern at the New York Shakespeare Festival at the Public Theater.
You did?
I did. And
can we back up even further?
Yeah, sure.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Norristown, Pennsylvania, which is a little bit outside of Philadelphia.
And did you go to school for theater?
I didn't. I did, theater in high school, and my mom put me in an acting class when I was 6 because I was an only child. And my mother being she was this amazing person who was an incredible musician. She studied music in college. She became a teacher, an elementary school teacher. And she realized that probably the best way to socialize an only child and to, help her come out of her shell and have confidence was to put her in an acting class. So when I was 6, that's what mama. She did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was amazing. So,
but you didn't go to college for theater.
I didn't. I had done so much theater that I thought, well, I'll still do a lot of theater when I get to college, or I'll still, do student theater, but I really want to study something else. And it also made my parents a little bit happier until they found out what my actual majors were. And then they were like, what were your majors?
Poetry? Was it poetry?
No, it was sociology and modern culture and media. Which when I started in the department, it was called semiotics, and then it got renamed modern culture and media.
So how did you end up in that casting office?
I had a friend of mine from college, my roommate actually, had family members that were professors at Tisch. And at that time, Rosemary Tischler, who was one of the producers at the Public Theater, ran the Tisch acting program. And she asked her friends if they would ask if maybe I could interview, just that, that stupid, you fell into it thing. And I managed to get
you
this.
You really fell into it.
I really fell into it, and then fell into it in a way that I didn't really know what to do once I fell into it, because I lived in Philadelphia and I could not afford to live in New York. So what did I do? I commuted on Amtrak every day from Philadelphia to New York.
You could afford that?
No
way.
At the time, it was really cheap. I mean, come on, this was like 25 years ago. It was a different.
What is that, like 2 hours? Both
it was
ways?
About an hour and 45 minutes.
Wow.
And, I took my little $45 check that you get as an intern. And
I have to share a spark with you that we just did on the podcast, which is, have you ever read Underfoot in Show Business by Helene Hanff?
No.
She grew up in Philadelphia and she couldn't afford, all she wanted to do was work in New York theater. Mm-hmm. And she had to take that train back and forth too. And she was working in the press office on a production that became Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh.
It's the best story.
We're going to send you a copy of that book.
Oh my gosh, I would love that. That is amazing.
That's so crazy. So you were making that trek back and forth like Helene Hanff.
I was. And then when I graduated from college, I think, you stick in someone's mind if you're the crazy kid who commuted every day from Philadelphia. So the general manager was looking for an assistant, and I came in to interview, and I was really lucky and I got the job. And so
wow.
That's kind of where it started. I worked
just right there at the Public Theater.
Years. Exactly. And then I moved across the street. Mm-hmm. To company
where we all met.
Exactly, where we all met. To company manage at Blue Man Group. And it really confused the guy who brought me my morning egg and cheese on a roll. Because I went
She's across the street.
Exactly.
Just taking her across the street. Yeah.
Those were the days.
Those were the days.
I recently learned that, and I don't know why this was a surprise to me, that bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll is the number one sandwich in New York City, like the most ordered sandwich. And I didn't think of it because it's a breakfast sandwich, I guess. But I was like, remember in the years that we all lived in New York City, between Tiffani, Laura, and I, take a guess at how many bacon, egg, and cheese on a rolls we have ordered and eaten in our lives. It's so many. Countless.
It could be the official sandwich of New York. It could be the official sandwich of New York City.
It could be the official sandwich of this podcast.
It could be. It could be.
But back to you, off of sandwiches and back to you. So you start in casting, you move into company management. For people that don't know what that is in the entertainment industry at a theater like the Public Theater or Blue Man, what is company management?
So sometimes I used to refer to company management as all the jobs that nobody else wanted to do thrown into one job.
Oh my God.
Well, yes.
But you're sort of responsible for things like payroll and tracking sales and taking care of the care and feeding of the actors.
Like all these things make sense together. Sales and care and feeding of actors. Yeah.
Care and feeding of actors and, contracts. You prepare a lot of contracts. And the one great thing about it is that you get to work in all aspects of the theatrical process to some extent. You work with the actors, you work with the producer and the director, you're in the theater, so you work with the box office and the front of house. So you really get to see how the sausage gets made from being a company manager. So I do think that was the best leap that I could have taken.
So if someone wanted to be like a theater executive, company management is like fertile training ground, right?
It is very good training ground. You get to know what everybody does and how it all works and how it all fits together. And
so it's sort of baked into the way you're talking about it. But when you say it's sort of been described as all the jobs that nobody else wants rolled into one great big job. To me, it sounds so hard. It sounds so like the buck always stops with you. Like you are constantly problem solving. You're the complaint department. Like it's a lot. But how did you like it?
I mean, it really, a lot of it has to do with the people that you work with because, if you enjoy the people, that makes all the difference. And yes, a lot of the buck stops with you. You report to a general manager. And so that general manager also takes a lot of the heat, but you're usually the conduit of that heat. And you're the on the ground person, the day-to-day person that people come into contact with, that the cast and crew come into contact with on a daily basis. And because you're doing their payroll, there's a lot of discussion about that. My payroll's wrong. My check is wrong.
Oh my God.
Did I tell you didn't pay my agent? Yeah. Where's my per diem?
It sounds amazing. All the young people out there are just like, sign me up.
I want that job.
But I can truly see how it flows into the work that you're doing now and how is the job that you're in now, is it kind of a dream job for somebody like you who can handle the tough stuff and loves being in that leadership position?
It is, because for somebody like me that really likes the kind of management and administrative side of things, but also loves the artistic side, loves to read scripts, loves to have input in how shows are developed and, early development and working with artists. You couldn't find a better model because it's a single leadership model. So you're kind of a part of all of that.
Yeah.
You're using all the parts of your brain in this job.
You're using all the muscles. You're using all the muscles.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite hit me until I don't know, maybe my second or third meeting, and we were, discussing some issue, and it got really quiet, and nobody said anything, and I realized that everybody was waiting for me to
it's my turn.
Oh, right. This is where I'm supposed to tell you what to do. Oh,
fuck.
Got it.
That would keep me up at night and simultaneously make me shit myself. So not only would I be up at night, I would be shitting myself while I was awake. But you seem to bear it well. So in that moment when they all turned, looked at you, and you were like, oh, they're waiting for me to declare. Like, were you like, yes? Or were you like, oh no?
Did you know the answer? Were you able to say, like, here's what we're going to do?
I was able to, in the sense that any job that I have been in and where I'm responsible for something, I'm willing to take the heat for anything that I tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not one of those people that tries to look to blame other people or, I love a team environment, but I know that when I step out and say, I need you to do this, or we're going to go in this direction, or we're going to do this. And I am the first person to say, when someone looks at me like, uh-oh, and I will be the first one to say, I'll take the heat.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
That's such a gift for all the team members. It is a superpower. Just too many people are like so afraid of making a mistake, and who will they blame, and how will they explain that it wasn't really a mistake? It's like, it's okay. I'll take it. And I trust the thinking that got us here. And if it goes awry, okay, we'll be okay.
And I make mistakes. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, and I make mistakes all the time. And before this, I was the manager at the Marquee Theater on Broadway. And I kind of got a little bit thrown into that job as well, not having a lot of one-on-one training and just having to kind of make my way in it. And I remember getting called into the CFO's office because I had done something wrong on my settlement. And, I was panic stricken because I kept hearing, this is so, never get this wrong. You always have to get this right.
Oh my God.
I said to her, I was like, I'm really sorry that I made the mistake. I said, but the one thing that I am going to promise you that I will try, although I will continue to make mistakes, I will try never to make the same mistake twice. That's what I strive for. I don't strive to be perfect. I strive to, once I've learned something, to retain it. Mm-hmm. And I've always kind of used that as my North Star in most jobs, that you can't put the pressure on yourself that you have to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You're going to make mistakes, but the goal is never to make it twice.
I love what that does, like, for your team as well. I love, like, the permission it gives other people to learn as well, and not feel scared of not knowing everything, or making a mistake, or having to ask a question.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's really in alignment with, I was just actually teaching at the O'Neill on this very day, today that we're recording this. And the ethos, it's on a sign when you drive up to the O'Neill. And I'll never forget, like, the first time I was up there, the headlights crossed over this sign. We pulled up at night, and it says risk, period, fail, period, risk again, period. And I was like, that sounds amazing. I wonder how you do that. Like, I just, I didn't know at the time. I've studied on it since, so I have a better idea about it. But what you're talking about, Tiffani, I feel like it's a good match for that ethos that is on the sign in front of the institution that you now lead.
Hey, wait, should we stop and say, for folks who don't know, what is the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center? I feel like
Tiffani,
that's a
what is
worthy
it? Yeah,
thing
tell us more.
Yeah, to hear from you, Tiff.
I believe that they describe themselves as the launch pad of the American theater.
Oh, just that.
Just that. But it is it's a number of things. It's a theater center that within it has a theater conservatory, an accredited theater conservatory. So you get credits in college for your work there. It's the National Theater Institute. It's celebrating its 50th year. And we have students from all over the country that come and train with the best of the best, among them Susan Blackwell.
Susan Blackwell.
What?
Susan
I
Blackwell.
cannot believe they let me work with young people.
Who's vetting the teachers there? I
Seriously.
really question.
And, they're encouraged to risk, fail, and risk again. And it's been, I have met a number of people that talk about how the experience really changed their lives. And even if they didn't become actors, there are a lot of directors that have come from that program. And if they aren't directors, some people went into television or something completely different, but just the skills that they learned, they take with them everywhere. And then it's also the home of the National Play Conference, which develops new works by emerging artists. We do 6 plays a year, and we do them as staged readings instead of full productions. So for over a 4-week period, you're encouraged to write. You get 4 readings of your piece with audiences and performances in between so that you can get feedback and write some more. And then we do the same with musicals in the National Musical Theater Conference. So that's a lot of the development of new work. And I always think of the O'Neill as being the place that really taught theaters how to develop work. I mean, the concept of what we refer to, Laura and Susan, I know you'll know the 29-hour reading, which is the thing that most musicals or plays will go through in their early development, where they'll spend 29 or 20 hours in rehearsal with a director, and they, do a presentation, either script in hand or, very minimally staged, no costumes, that sort of thing, but just to give the writers an opportunity to see their work in movement, on its feet, and to get that kind of feedback. And that's something that the O'Neill kind of started and discovered through the National Play Conference. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, it's
I didn't know that. That's fascinating.
That model is something that I think, was how that kind of thing became shaped. They started.
And now it's industry standard.
Now it's the industry standard.
Wow.
And so they also have added in the 30 years. 30 years ago, they added a puppetry conference where it's a 2-week conference in the summer where emerging puppeteers and, highly trained puppeteers come together and share their work and show their craft. They make new puppets. They try new things. They learn from one another about different kinds of puppetry, and they come from all over the world. There's also a National Critics Conference, and that is mid-career entertainment critics writers that come together and they hone their craft, learn from one another. They use some of the pieces that are being performed on campus as inspiration for some of their work, that sort of thing. Just as exercises, not as, we're going out there and critiquing your work, but they
going to make or break this show.
Exactly.
Right here.
But they get to see, they get to see some of those shows and talk about, with one another about how you go about critiquing entertainment, live entertainment, that sort of thing. And then there's the Cabaret and Performance Conference, which is another 2-week conference in the summer. I know.
It's amazing.
As you're saying this, I'm like, between all of those conferences, which are very diverse, and then the educational arm, which is the National Theater Institute and the National Musical Theater Institute, like it is a lot of. It's a lot of the minds of the American theater and puppetry and cabaret and criticism are passing through that campus.
It's true.
It's really the scope of what you all do is pretty impressive.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, it really is impressive. And, Lloyd Richards was the artistic director of the National Play Conference for 34 years, I believe. I think he's the longest serving artistic director there. And in some ways, he's responsible for kind of shepherding some of the best playwrights of the second half of the 20th century. I mean, John Guare and John Patrick Shanley and August Wilson. I mean, those are phenomenal people that we hear about, legendary folks that have come through the O'Neill, and we've continued over time to develop work. I mean, Slave Play was developed at the O'Neill, and it just got 12 Tony nominations. In the Heights, title of show. There's title of show.
That's right. And if we as you are catching on, Laura and I are old friends of the O'Neill. We did workshop title of show there. I went back to develop another original musical called Now Hear This. And as we met for 1 million years, I have also been a teaching artist at the O'Neill, at their National Theater Institute, including my work with the students today.
Yeah.
But I really have spent many late nights writing at the O'Neill and many early mornings teaching at the O'Neill. I have eaten in the cafeteria more than I can tell you. And it's so great that you are there now, Tiffani. Yeah. I think we're just super excited to see what you do with your O'Neill chapter and how you lead there.
Oh, thank you.
We're excited for you, but we're equally, if not more, so excited for the O'Neill to have you. I think it's going to be incredible.
I'm really excited too. I really, right now, most of what we have to concentrate on is, keeping ourselves afloat and getting through the pandemic and trying to deliver as much of our content as we can. We've been really lucky to be able to have NTI this fall, although at a reduced capacity, and to also, we'll have it in the spring as well. And so now we're trying to make plans for the best way to support our artists in the National Play Conference, National Music Theater Conference over the summer.
Well, this leads to our next question, which is with the pandemic, with politics doing what they're doing right now, with this movement of social change and the social reckoning that's happening, we are in the midst, just as human beings, we are in the midst of a lot of rapid change, not to mention the theater community, the United States, globally. And we're curious what it must be like for you to step into managing this globally recognized arts organization during these unprecedented times.
It's really a challenge. I mean, what else can I say? I mean, I think challenge for anyone, but definitely a challenge. It's there are a lot of eyes on everyone and everything, especially the theater. And how, the theater's gone through, I guess, somewhat or a reckoning about the work that it chooses, about the artists that they work with, the diversity of it, and how we approach teaching theater, all of those things. And when you're at an institution like the O'Neill that does it all, you definitely feel like you have to start thinking about all of those things all of the time, and with all of your programs, and with so it is very much a priority. And then also finding new ways to deliver theater, knowing that it's hard for people to gather. And although we're not dependent on audiences the same way that some of the presenting theaters are, because our audiences are coming to see staged readings and they're much smaller. The tickets, the price of tickets are lower. It's still something that is part of the Waterford community, the New London community, that they miss and that they want to be a part of. And trying to deliver things and keep them engaged virtually, and hopefully maybe this summer using some of our outdoor spaces. We really want to be able to do that. So we're very focused on trying to keep all the balls in the air all at the same time. And everyone's been committed and supportive and supporting the whole move forward. But, you want to come in, and have a big vision and have the big idea and implement the big idea today.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that I'm lucky that we're getting to operate.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that I'm able to lead this organization and have a job at all in this climate. So, I have to keep a notebook of, I keep kind of like, of big ideas.
Your spark file.
Yes.
Yes.
Spark file.
Yes.
Exactly. Because I don't want to feel, hampered. I don't want to feel the weight of, but you can't have a big idea, but knowing that it's going to take time.
Yeah.
This is such a basic question, but I always like to ask people like you who have positions of enormous responsibility. How much sleep do you require in a night?
I love sleep.
I heart sleep.
I love sleep. When I was in kindergarten, I used to come home with a note taped to me that said Tiffani was a good sleeper, a good napper. And
it's like wrapped into your identity. I am a good sleeper.
It's wrapped into my identity.
Well.
So I like to get between 8 and 9 hours.
Ooh,
yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's my ideal. I don't, it goes in waves. Sometimes I sleep really well. Sometimes I don't, a lot of it has to do with what's going on in my life or in the world. I find that through the pandemic, it's been difficult because I'm not moving around enough.
Yes.
So I find, just sleeping, I'm not tired enough.
Yeah, you haven't worn yourself out enough.
You haven't built up that sleep pressure. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And working, my brain gets tired. And so I sometimes just want to lay there and not think. But the actual sleeping part has been a little bit more difficult.
As you are digging into this role, and it's crazy because you're learning this role while you are in the midst of this just bananas au gratin time. But are you seeing things, any cool possibilities coming to life regarding the future of theater? Are there any exciting ideas that are hitting your spark file?
I think so. I mean, I haven't been watching a lot of Zoomed content, but I've watched a couple of readings via Zoom, and I've found them to be very effective. So the idea of being able to do some development via Zoom is something that I think we might be able to take with us, continue on with us.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I do think you're right. We've talked so much on the podcast and in life just how when we get to a post-pandemic time, whether that's after a reliable vaccine comes out or this cloud has moved past us, there's so much change that has occurred that is going to remain with us. And I think what you're talking about is one of the pieces that could be really, really cool.
I agree.
It's baked into the process that you could actually, without having to fly everybody to Waterford, Connecticut every time, you could actually get some really great, exciting work done via Zoom. That is a good idea.
And, how much fun is it now to have a reason to have to teach a student how to audition on camera, audition on Zoom.
Yes, it's so funny. I was teaching O'Neill students an on-camera acting class on Zoom the other day, and I was like, "This is actually great, friends, because we don't have to we don't have to roll in a camera into the room with a monitor. You can actually see right now in real time when a look passes across Rachel's face.
Mm-hmm.
Just a look passes across Rachel's face, or Rachel looks down and tries to surreptitiously text with somebody. You don't have to do much. And everyone, it registers on camera. This is a weird thing, but it's actually true. Teaching on camera acting over Zoom, there's a lot of many blessings in that, because you can make points very easily, and it's very real and very immediate.
It's true.
So cool.
Yeah.
I hope that people take away from Zoom the ability to connect. I don't think that I connected this much with some people, in a visual world. I mean, this is, just a kind of, more personal than professional, but I have friends all over the world. I have a friend in Scotland that I have known for 20 years, and we didn't start video chatting until the pandemic.
Yes.
Why?
You got accustomed to that technology. Yeah. Because you got really good at the tech. You got really good at the tech.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're really enjoying that as well. We're getting ready to host our annual New Year's workshop. And typically people would have to get to New York to be able to attend. Yep. And now people from all over the world can just Zoom right on in.
We're so excited to hear, we have some listeners in Scotland, some listeners in London, and they're already signed up. And we're like, this is amazing, because, they wouldn't have been able to come otherwise. It's incredible.
And I also wonder if this time will actually grow interest in theater, and what we do will grow because of things like this, what you're doing.
Oh, that's interesting.
You're reaching people that maybe normally wouldn't go to a show, or, go to a lecture or something, or, this podcast wouldn't pop up in their iPod or something like that. But now they're getting to learn something, and that they can develop an interest in something. They're developing an interest in something that they might take with them.
I realize while we're talking about this, just this week, because of pandemic related events, a theater in Mexico did a production in Spanish of Now Hear This. They did it virtually, and I was able to sit in my chair that I'm sitting in right now and watch this production that was filmed in a theater in Mexico. And they made a bubble and they filmed it together during the pandemic. And I got to watch it without flying to Mexico to see it. And I felt very connected to that cast and that creative team. And I know that we were talking before you jumped into this recording, Tiffani, about how, I know that, the pain that teachers are feeling right now is real. I know the pain that students are feeling right now is real, and lots of different people who are having to adjust and work with this technology during this time. All of that is true, and I'm not minimizing that, but I also think there's an enormous amount of possibility that I am excited that we now are accustomed to, that we can take into our future and sort of fold it into being able to gather in person again and things like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think it's exciting.
I think it has sparked.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yes.
Yes. Get it trending, Tiffani. Yes.
Get it trending. Sparked creativity in a new way. People are trying to communicate in a different way and share information. I mean, one of the things that I got involved with before I started at the O'Neill was something called the Broadway Community Project, which
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
So that came out of, I was an avid watcher of the daily Cuomo
yes, the press briefings,
press conference, press briefings.
Yes.
And I think the Cuomo show, and I think just about every theater person or Broadway person felt the kick in the stomach the day that he said, "I wouldn't use Broadway as a barometer for anything."
That was not a good day.
I don't think that he meant it the way that it came out, but I went on a walk with a friend, my friend Greg Schaffert, after that. And I said, I feel like people don't understand how many people are affected by Broadway being closed.
Yes.
Yes. I feel like there's this sense that it's just about providing entertainment, not that it's providing somebody's job or livelihood.
That's right.
And, I said, I kept thinking about what my theater must look like, dusty with empty music stands and, a wig room with no wigs on the wig forms. And just, I was like, an empty theater is one of the saddest things you could ever walk through.
Yeah.
And I said, I wish there was some visual way to share with people just how many people are affected. I want there to be a human behind it and not just an industry. And so we got in touch with Damien Bazzadona from Situation Marketing. And I sort of told him my idea and that I wanted to come up with a way of mapping all of this. And he said to me, this is a really cool idea. And Greg and I thought, Greg was really excited. He said, oh yeah, I know that Damien's going to love this. And I was shocked that he actually thought it was a cool idea. And so we embarked on this couple of months of creating this map that basically shows how all of the with the show in the center, shows how all of the various aspects connect to the show, but from the point of view of the people. So I wanted it to be about the people. I wanted you to hear from the guy who hangs the underslings on the marquee in front of the theater, and how and
is that what they're called?
The underslings.
Underslings?
Yeah.
Is that where it says like majestic?
Exactly.
The New York Times.
Yeah.
I never knew that they were called underslings. I'm learning so much.
There you go. So, I wanted, people to hear from him and, hear from the union rep whose union isn't, her union office is closed and she's had to go on unemployment. And, the master electrician or all of the various parts that put together a show. And when we did it, I didn't even realize how big it would get. And it keeps growing.
It's
and it
huge.
is this living project.
It's huge. I think it's the coolest thing. It's one of the coolest things I've seen in a long, long time. And when I first saw it, I was like, how did they do this? Who did this? And then I saw Situation and I was like, of course it was Situation. Right. Of course it was.
But from the mind of Tiffani Gavin.
From the mind of Tiffani Gavin. And you know all the people to bring this together and make it happen. But I do love goal accomplished. You have the personal touch of like, let me go in and see what a lead producer does. And, here's a lead producer right here. You can learn about them. And
how do people find it, Tiffani, if they want to behold the majesty? How do they find it?
They can go to playbill.com. There's an icon on the homepage of playbill.com that says Broadway Community Project. And if they click on it, it'll take them right to the map.
And they partnered with you on that? Like they said, we want that.
Yeah. We brought Playbill in. Alex Bursch from Playbill, they were looking for online content because one thing that's interesting, that I never even thought of is that Playbill had to stop their presses for the first time in 100 years or something. Right?
Yeah. The programs, the theater programs. Oh my God. Yep. Exactly. Oh my God! Of course,
it had I knew it, I guess, in the back of my head, but it didn't come home for me until Damien brought Alex in, and Alex said, we are looking for online content, so we'd be happy to partner with you guys. This might make something really interesting for us, and they became involved, and now they actually do features on various people in the map. So, you can go to the map and click on a person, but there are also features on various people as well. So you get to learn a little bit more about them. So it was something that was really a gift to me and to Greg, I think, to be able to bring this thing to life. And I could not thank Situation and Playbill, Alex and Pippa and Kevin and Damien any more than, I mean, they're just amazing to be able to help us do this.
It's a gift for all of us because, again, to illustrate just how enormous this industry is and how many people have been affected. I got to imagine that is helpful for so many people on a personal level
to conceptualize.
Family members who don't understand, like, so what is it? And that sounds neat. But you can, so many people can say, look, this is the world that I inhabit.
I will also say, just like looking towards the future, I feel like this is a spark for individuals who potentially want to work in the theater and the people who love them, including parents, teachers, guidance counselors, career counselors. I mean, I will be honest with you, until I looked at this project that you've created, I don't know that I could have conceptualized all those jobs and understood actually what all of those, and I work in this industry. So I can imagine how helpful this could be if you or somebody you cared about was trying to find their place in this big theatrical community.
Yeah.
It's really something.
I was a guest on a podcast recently called Ditch Your Backup Plan. And the host of that podcast said she has so many conversations with parents who are terrified. She runs call it the K-State theater program. And she said she talks to so many parents who are just terrified. Like they have a very myopic view of what potential jobs exist for their child who's about to, major in theater. And I can't wait to tell her about this and make sure she knows about it, because she said she's always trying to explain to them, like, you have no idea. But for all the students, if you can't see it, you can't be it. So helping them to visualize, like, oh my God, there's an underslinger. I'd be great at being an underslinger. I can undersling with the best of them.
It's a great spark, Tiffani. It's very cool. It's a very cool project.
And you made that.
Yeah. I mean, it was really important for us also to be, Broadway isn't always the most diverse place, and we didn't want to show it as something that it's not, but we did make a concerted effort to have women and people of color so that it's understood that there are a lot of different people that have these roles.
Yep.
And that maybe, the only reason that there aren't more people doing them is because either they don't know about them or they don't have access. So, there's no job that's not open to you.
That's right.
So it was fun to put together, and I cannot get over how many people. We just called these people out of the blue or sent them emails or something. And I was like, there's no effing way that this
underslinger.
Right, Tiffani, that I have not talked to yes.
Oh, sorry. I did not mean to interrupt with what is going to be a shameless pitch. Our podcaster's on there. I didn't see, but this whole world of theater podcasting has cropped up. So I think it's not complete until, we see some podcasters on there.
It's true. We got to get podcasters on there. So now I have a phone call that I can make. Because
easy. Put that in your spark file, Tiffani.
Yeah, it was this list of I don't know, have you talked to this person? I haven't talked to this person in 25 years. Do you really think you can get them to make a 30-second video? I don't know. What else are they doing? It's just...
yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. There was that moment in the pandemic where it was sort of like, what else are they doing? Now that's all changed because people have gotten very creative.
Yes, it's true.
So we believe, Tiffani, that everyone is creative, but smart, creative people don't do it alone. They have support along the way.
True.
And we're curious, who has been a source of support in your creative life?
Oh, boy. They're just, there's so many. I don't think it would even be fair to name any one person.
Sophie's choice. Oh, no.
So it is Sophie's choice.
No.
If anything, my my mom and my dad have always been an inspiration because they were involved in the arts. I grew up in the arts because of them. And they saw my potential in anything. I don't know. Everything I did was fantastic to them. I mean, I'd be in a musical and croaking my way through some song. And they're like, you are amazing!
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
That's a great answer. I think that's a beautiful answer.
Oh my God. All right. Then the flip side of your perfection, there's another topic we're obsessed with on this podcast, and that is processing creative failure or perceived failure.
Yeah.
Could you talk about one of the biggest perceived failures or challenges that you faced and how you processed it?
Oh, the list.
I know. Just today I was teaching the students at the O'Neill workshop, a Let Me Try That Again workshop, which is about how to, because as we just said, when you pull up to the O'Neill, there's that big sign that says risk, period, fail, period, risk again. And when I first saw it, I was like, that sounds amazing. I don't know how to do it. So I really studied on it. And it's something that it's so true. We all fail. And I think sometimes it's comforting. It's comforting for me, Laura, and our listeners to know that even, fancy pantses like you who can
the executive
hold
director
a lot of
the
response.
Eugene O'Neill Center has had
The
some
fucking executive director of the Eugene O'Neill Center. Like you can, like and we posit that one of the reasons that you have risen into a role like this is because you have a good idea about how to process failure. Like, it's not because you haven't experienced failure, it's because you've learned how to process it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's all in perspective. I don't know that I've ever done anything perfectly or walked away from something saying, well, wow.
Well, smell me.
Exactly.
I nailed that.
But I'm always happy to have maybe left my mark somewhere, or just, maybe left a place a little bit better than when it started. And if I didn't, then maybe I came out of there having learned something. So, so I can't, I don't want to say that I failed at everything or failed at nothing, but I think again, if I looked at everything that didn't go my way as a failure, I wouldn't get out of bed.
Hey, that's it. I mean, that's that perspective. Yeah. Just because something didn't end up exactly the way you thought of it doesn't make it a failure.
Yeah. Well, it's funny just back around to Blue Man for a second. I left and kind of leaving your mark somewhere. The thing I love about Blue Man is that is the thing that I feel like I left behind was Dart Night on Tuesday.
Oh, that is genius. And continued on for
That's your legacy.
That's a great legacy.
And I love that was my legacy, that like Dart still happened. I don't know if it was on Tuesday, but that, they still went to the same bar and played on Tuesday nights or played darts.
That's really about building community, Tiffani. Like that's beyond darts. And if there's one thing that Blue Man did, go on and continue to do is cultivate community. And you were a big part of that in the early years.
I guess you could call it early years. It was year 10 when I got there.
Hey, it's now 30. So those are the early years.
It's all relative.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
So that was looking towards the past. Now looking towards the future. And this is potentially an unfair question because you just stepped into such a significant chapter of your life.
Yeah.
But is there a creative thing or a professional thing that you need to do before you're done?
I would like to really develop something from whole cloth and, shepherd a project for someone unexpected, and and get it across the finish line. It would just make me so happy to be able to really, from start to finish, really develop something as a producer or a manager, because I'm not a writer, I'm not, that sort of thing, but to really shepherd a project until it gets to its rightful place, and give somebody a chance that maybe wouldn't otherwise have one. I just think I didn't know what I could do in this business when I started. I didn't even really know what I wanted to do. I didn't know how far I could get as a woman of color in the theater. Mm-hmm. And if I could help somebody get to where they want to go to really mentor somebody, I would love that, because I stumbled around till I found my way. And I had so many great mentors along the way that I feel like I want to pay it forward to somebody. So
I think you're in the perfect position to do this.
Absolutely. And probably for multiple people. But what lucky people, because your skill set,
Holy shit.
That's one of the things that drew us to wanting to talk to you is your skill set as a creative and someone who's nurtured and fostered creativity, and the executive side, because so many artists are like, all that stuff scares me. I don't know what to do. And you combine them so gracefully.
I try. I mean, it's an art in and of itself. And I think when you respect the art, it all sort of comes together. You know the why when someone asks you, I really need this. You can have the conversation about why something that seems so incredibly expensive makes sense to someone. To be able to, have that conversation and look at a piece from both, the dream part and the real side.
I want a shot glass more of that. We're actively working on it, but like a shot glass more of that, like that business acumen part, that part that is comfortable, like swimming in those business waters and like financials and
legalese.
Earlier you were talking about the settlement that you were like, it wasn't perfect. There was a flaw in it. And I was like, I want to know what that word means too. Like all of it.
So here's the secret. You'll never feel totally comfortable. You have to wing it until you figure it out.
Yes. Fake it till you make it, baby.
Good.
You fake it till you make it.
We were just going to ask you, like, you've been in the creative business for a long time. Can you give us some good creative advice? And I think
it till you make it, babies.
Fake it till you make it.
You do have all parts of your brain firing. Do you have any other good creative advice for us and our listeners?
It's really important to know a little bit about everything that affects you. So, if you're an actor or a performer of any type, know a little bit about your contract. Don't just leave it to your agent or your lawyer. Know a little bit about how to do that. However, you have to learn it. You could learn it from a general manager friend like me or a company manager.
This is such good adulting advice.
It is.
It is to be able to, like, even if you have to like hold your eyes open with your fingers and like force yourself to do it, to really have some basic working understanding of what you are committing to.
Yeah. Because I think that it's always good when a producer or a manager knows you're watching. And that you're paying attention. And it's always nice when you're in in an administrative position, to feel like someone understands a little bit of what you do. So that's always a helpful thing. It always, endears people to me when someone says something to me that I'm like, oh, wow, thanks, cool. You You knew that I had, you know what it meant that I had to be at the ad meeting today? Thank you.
Yeah. It's like an awareness and curiosity about other people's work as well.
Yeah, but it also affects you, I mean, it is important to know, and it'll help you find other opportunities. I mean, I couldn't do a podcast, but you figured out how to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Still
I should really know how to do this.
Listen, it's true. This is a great example. This is an example of like, Laura and I, like, I'll just speak for myself. I'm old as fuck. And I was like, I don't know how to edit sound. I don't know how to record stuff. I don't know how to do this. And thank God Laura has, real skills, but you figure it out. Like you figure it out.
Exactly. It expands your opportunities, getting to use different parts of your brain. And
yeah. Absolutely.
And keep learning.
Absolutely.
Keep learning.
That's good advice too.
That's very good advice.
Tiffani Gavin, you work really fucking hard. What's it all for?
I think I do it because I truly, truly believe that live performance, entertainment really feeds people's soul. And it's important actually in ways that people don't even think about. It's important to our economy. It's important to our community. It's important to, understanding one another. I feel like I want everybody to have experienced being on stage, even just standing on a stage or seeing a show and just seeing how much goes into it, how many different kinds of people are involved. It is extraordinary. And I don't feel like I could do anything else that would have given me the opportunity to meet so many amazing people, to work on so many different things, and get to see the world from so many different places, honestly. I mean, I think that's the only explanation I can give. It seems kind of selfish maybe, but I just love what art brings to the world, and I want to do everything I can to help other people know that too.
Awesome.
You're doing it.
I feel like you're doing it. It shows up in all the work you're doing. You're feeding souls and also letting people know the breadth of this community as well.
You're so in alignment with that goal. It's incredible because the words you just spoke and your intentions, and then the actions you're taking at the O'Neill, and also the creating of the Broadway Community Project. It's just, it's all in alignment. It's exciting.
It is
Good
exciting.
job, Tiffani Gavin.
Well,
way to go.
It is exciting.
Hey, can you tell us, last but not least, who or what is sparking you these days?
I think I'm feeling a little defiant.
Oh, that's a good spark.
I don't know if defiance is the word, but I just feel like if I can conquer this during a pandemic, with, this job kind of coming out of nowhere, not really expecting that this was going to be my next move, I want to get this right. And I'm going to fight tooth and nail to get it right.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because it could not be a harder time to try and do it. So I am just, I don't want anybody to tell me that I can't, because I'm gonna make sure that I can.
Oh man, and we are right there. We're with you 100%. We'll be cheering you on the whole way.
I appreciate that.
Oh, Tiffani, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's so great to talk to you.
You too.
It's great to talk to you too. We won't go another 20 years, Tiffani. We promise.
No, please don't.
We won't. Friends, friends, I think that's it. This episode of the Spark File was made on Muncie, Lenape, and Seminole land, and we hope that it put another bunch of sparks in your file. Listen to us. If there is a spark you'd like us to explore, or if you've taken a spark and you fanned it into a creative flame and you'd like to share that, email us at thesparkfile@gmail.com or submit it through our website, thesparkfile.com.
We will even happily take your feedback, but you know the price of admission. First, you have to share a creative risk that you have taken recently.
And if you want to support this little podcast, be sure to subscribe to the Spark File wherever you get your podcast. You can subscribe, rate, 5-star review it. If you like it, seriously, that is a great way, a free way for you to support this work that we're doing. And you can also share it with people you love. And if you didn't like it, I don't know, Tiffani, what do you say to your critics?
Watch me.
Defiance.
Yes.
Defiance.
Woo.
Yes.
If something tickles your fancy and gets your creative juices flowing, we're writing you a forever permission slip to make that thing that's been knocking at your door. It's your turn to take a spark and fan it into a flame.
You got to take it
and make it.
Make it.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my God, Tiffani, that reminds me of Fuck Around and Find Out.
Watch me. Oh, that was good.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I wanna make or how I wanna be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell from the Spark File here to let you know that the doors are open for the Spark File Illume, a 9-month group creativity coaching mastermind that invites you to be the Chief Creative Officer and Chief Marketing Officer of your creativity. But what does that mean? That means in 9 months in Illume, you will clarify and advance your big creative goals and learn how to effectively share your work with the world. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an experienced creative or an accomplished professional who seeks a space where it is safe to attempt something you've never tried before, or complete a big creative project, or take your work to the next level and acquire the skills needed to share your creative work with the world, Illume might be right for you. We are calling in emotionally intelligent, high-functioning creatives who are ready to level up. You can find out more by going to thesparkfile.com/Illume, but do it now to find out if Illume is right for you and to save with early bird discounts. That's thesparkfile.com/Illume. Take a leap, take a risk. Go to thesparkfile.com/Illume and join us for Illume.